Hello, boys and girls. Today, we're going to do a couple of things a little different. And one of them is that I'm going to do a little diatribe in the beginning on courage, but we'll get to there in a moment. The book I want to introduce today is the Dhammapada by the Buddha, Sayings of the Buddha. This is a rare book because it was translated from the Pali by Thomas Clary. And I have not read the original in its entirety, and I don't know much about the Pali canon. I probably know more than what I suspect I do because of the Mahayana is built on that foundation, the Mahayana being the great vehicle. But I want to introduce you to this book for those of you that like small, thin books. This is one. You can just leave it on your bedstand or whatever and just pick it up and open a few pages and you'll be enriched thereby. Why don't I just read the cover to you? Several remarkable features distinguish this version from other renditions of the much-loved Dhammapada. First is Thomas Clary's intimate familiarity with a vast array of spiritual wisdom in both the West and the East that he effortlessly evokes for our enlightenment. Next is his uncanny ability to interweave text and commentary in a smooth, seamless tapestry. Above all, Clary's straightforward prose makes this profound work accessible to the modern American audience in a way never before achieved by an English translation. And I'd say that's true of most of Clary's translations. It's a real shock when you see what he's been able to do. Let's see. The quest for inner peace and individual liberation is one of the most ancient endeavors of humankind. 500 years before Christ, Gautama Buddha became one of the great leaders in that spiritual journey. The Dhammapada is a collection of Buddhist sayings as passed down by his followers and drawn from the seminal Pali canon. It is perhaps the best primer of Buddhism. Possible, but I've been biased towards the Mahayana. And we'll talk about the difference between those two. The moral path, its teachings, the Dhamma, I guess that's precedes Dharma. The moral path of life encourages development of self-mastery and strength of character and point the way to a heightened awareness of self and reality towards the ultimate attainment of enlightenment. Okay, and then I thought I'll read a short little passage, very pithy, but very nice. Three lines. It is better to live one day seeing transitoriness than to live 100 years not seeing transitoriness. It is better to live one day seeing the deathless state than to spend 100 years not seeing the deathless state. It is better to live one day seeing the ultimate truth than to live 100 years not seeing the ultimate truth. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, so the thing I wanted to do today that's different is I want to talk about what I've been increasingly calling the seventh paramita, although I think this applies more to lay people than it does to monks and nuns. Although monks and nuns too, frankly. It doesn't get a lot of talking about, but in many traditions and in many literatures, it's included, and that's the paramita of courage. So with the paramitas, what we're talking about is Buddha's virtues, which aren't like Christian virtues, where it's a sin to not do them or something like that. These are just pragmatic ways to go about life, and they include patience, discipline, generosity, effort, contemplation, meditation, and I'm sure I'm leaving one out. That'll give you a chance to review what you remember. But to that, I need to add I feel compelled to add now, after a lifetime of trying to help folks with this, with some success, I might add, the paramita of courage. You wouldn't automatically know that you need courage on this spiritual path, but there will come a time, and I'm reminded of this because of I think the last recording in the in the realm of reality, which is the last book in this book, in which the seeker Sudhana goes to all these different spiritual teachers. Well, one of the spiritual teachers he goes to lives surrounded by 4 fires. And I won't ruin it for you, and I won't spoil the story, but he tells Sudhana that he's going to have to walk up this razor path, this razor thin path way up in the mountains, where what he has to do once he gets there is described also. But the point is it's no way he's going to do that without courage and circumspection. So courage doesn't mean recklessness. Courage doesn't mean, willy-nilly. Courage means carefully considering your situation, considering what enlightenment means to you, considering what it's worth, and considering what you're willing to give up for it. All of these things already having been established, there comes a time in one's journey, at least as far as I've seen, and I don't know the whole thing, but as far as I can tell from my vantage point, my limited little vantage point, courage is required sooner or later. And sometimes it's a little courage, and sometimes it's a lot of courage. And for some people, even taking up this path requires courage. So I just want to make sure that we add that for the modern man and woman, that courage is an absolutely essential virtue in the Buddhist way of phrasing, if you want to go all the way here. And you do want to go all the way. One day of seeing the deathless state is worth 100 years, 1,000 years of not seeing the deathless state. Okay. What have you learned?
One thing that's been on my mind.
All right.
I think we talked about it the last video, maybe, but the idea or the reality of not being the body, but identifying with the body, and you said something about contracting into the body.
Oh, that's a very good point. I kind of hope no one had caught that. But go ahead.
Why?
Well, it's kind of a bummer. I'm sure it has its reasons, but yeah, it's kind of a bummer to talk about.
But what I was gonna say was, like, I notice when I'm focused and I can properly observe, then I can understand that this reality is all there's no fundamental difference between the if I take vision and seeing my body versus seeing something else, it's both the same stuff.
Same process, yeah. Same stuff, yep.
And so when I focus on that, then I can I don't want to say visualize, but it's kind of like visualize, but my self as everything, or the entire vision.
For you in particular, right now, you may enjoy Teilhard de Chardin, the great Catholic mystic. He saw the world as the body of Christ, and it's a nice transition.
Who is this?
Teilhard de Chardin, Theihard space de Chardin. I'm saying it in French, brutal French. Chardin, Char. Chardin is Chardin or something like that. Yeah. Why don't you read to the audience a little bit about this man? He's a very interesting Catholic mystic.
He was a French Jesuit
Wait a minute. You know something? I'm sorry for everybody. My Bluetooth is off. Give me one moment.
Battery 80%. Connected to David's iPad.
Give it a chance now. Give it a poke. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
Oh man. One more try here. Just disconnected the Wi-Fi.
David's iPad disconnected. Ready to connect.
Come on.
Connected to David's iPad.
Now it should come out now. Go ahead.
Testing.
There we
Testing.
go. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so he was born 1881, died in 1955. He was a French Jesuit Catholic priest, scientist, paleontologist, theologian, philosopher, and teacher.
Right, paleontologist. So that's good too. So he has a scientific mindset. But keep reading.
His mainstream scientific achievement includes his paleontological research in China, taking part in the discovery of the significant Peking man fossils.
Now he's a real scientist. But look where he got.
His more speculative ideas, sometimes criticized as pseudoscientific, have included a vital conception of the omega point.
Keep going.
The omega point is a theorized future event in which the entirety of the universe spirals towards a final point of unification. They also contributed to the development of the concept of a noosphere.
There we go, noosphere. Actually, I would attribute it to him, but go ahead. So the noosphere is one of his major contributions. Go ahead. What is the noosphere for everybody? Noosphere.
The noosphere is a philosophical concept developed and popularized by the biogeochemist Vladimir Vernadsky and philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
Okay, go ahead.
They defined the noosphere as a new state of the biosphere and described it as the planetary sphere of reason. The noosphere represents the highest stage of biospheric development and that of humankind's.
Okay. Where are you reading from?
Wikipedia.
Yeah, we got to get rid of this Wikipedia little bitty person thing, right? We've got these little bitty guys writing Wikipedia, girls, right? And they take everything and they filter it to their own, frankly, stupidity and arrogance, and then they butcher everything. So don't use Wikipedia for anything anymore. I mean, unless it's some kind of math problem or something like that, but I'm sorry, that's just grotesque what they just said. The noosphere is a sphere of thought of humans that covers our globe, right? And the omega point is actually a scientific
source.
What
you recommend using, if not Wikipedia?
Try Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. But let me explain it. I can explain it to the folks. So the noosphere is this undeniable reality that we have a consciousness, a collective consciousness on the planet, right? This is something talked about by Jung, something talked about by Doris Lessing, something that's kind of self-evident now that we have, real global communications. It's a step up for the biosphere. It's the sphere of human thought. And then we go beyond that. Now, from what you said about the omega point, to me, it seems as rational as any. If you believe in a Big Bang, why wouldn't you believe in a Big Crunch? If you have a universe with black holes, why wouldn't you believe that the whole thing unifies at the end and returns to where it came from? At any rate, reading Wikipedia in the morning is not a good idea, folks. Take it from me, especially if you're an old man. Okay, so the noosphere and the omega point, but the other, if you read his books, he saw the world as the body of God, the body of Christ, right? Now, for his time, he was ahead of his time, so he got in trouble with the authorities. But I recommend it for you that you look into some of his books and think about them.
Any books in particular?
They're written in French and then they have to be translated, and I can't. I'm not up to date with the actual titles. And it's going to have quite a bit of Christian.
French.
It's probably going to have some homage or some weaving to accommodate the Catholic authorities, because, like I say, he was in trouble with them a lot.
There's the phenomenon of man.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
The
anthropology,
future of
probably.
man, the divine milieu.
That might do it.
Should I read it in French?
Yes.
I can find it.
Yeah. So once we've given up, or an individual has given up on drawing artificial boundaries between self and outside self, and that's an arbitrary line. That's an arbitrary Markov blanket. That's an arbitrary surface, especially when it comes to your mind. And so you could just expand the boundaries of your mind, and then one day it just clicks, and then you realize, oh my God, this whole thing is mind only, as the ancients might call it in China. But now, I mean, it's kind of like a given. Mental consciousness is mental consciousness. Mental objects are mental objects. And the notion that we see, I mean, even the hardcore science guys, it's so wonderful to see for an old man. They're coming around and as close as they can get, say, oh, it's a simulation. It's a simulation. Ah, the computers have created the world, right? And so that's, but it's a step in the right direction. So, we kind of keep our, what they don't understand is that because we don't know enough about the quantum mechanical world, although we're getting there, is certain plants and some people, including Penrose, I think he's a Nobel laureate. He's a very, very smart man. And others have noticed that there's quantum tunneling used by biology. And so what these guys have come up with is the idea that microtubules, an electric field, also, or something like that, have use quantum mechanisms to exchange information. And so, if you just think about it, step back and think about it, why wouldn't the most sophisticated, complex thing in the universe that we know of, this brain, why wouldn't it also use quantum phenomenon to do its work? Of course it's going to use quantum phenomenon, just like plants do, some plants. And we're going to find out more and more do, because it's just more efficient. So, as I mentioned last time, the no cloning theorem says you cannot make an exact copy of a quantum, something that lives on quantum states, right, or quantum phenomenon. So we'll not be able to make an exact copy of you or me or anything that uses these things under the no cloning theorem. And so, oh, those birds send me. And so we cannot create a copy. This cannot be a simulation, or they can't even hypothesize, in my opinion, they can't hypothesize a simulation unless they're going to talk about quantum computing as an absolute essential part of it. But even with that, why would you do all that when you can just dream the world? Which is what we're doing, in a manner of speaking. So yes, there's a simulation. That's obvious, because look, we get input here and we construct something in here. Even that gives you a simulation, right? The retinas and the cones and the rods and the ears and all the sensory experience, in order to construct it to a world, it has to be a simulated world. For that reason and many others, yeah, of course it's a simulation. It's just not a big computer in the sky like people want to think. Humans are always doing that, projecting their limitations onto reality. Questions? Sorry I got carried away with that, but it's kind of cool the way we're getting closer and closer. At least people are starting to realize that this is not physical. So that's a step forward. By the way, I'd like to recommend 2 books for sci-fi and AI fans. One of them is Accession by Iain Banks, and the other one is, of course, the Foundation series for those that are inclined that way. And there, the 5th book is the best out of the 7. Accession is out of a series of books also, and that one you could read alone, and the rest of the books are quite difficult unless you're a real hardcore sci-fi guy. And so, and then also watching a TV series for fun called, what's it called?
3 Body Problem?
No, but it's along those lines, except it's anime. It's called Pantheon. It's on Netflix.
Called what?
Pantheon. It's on Netflix. It's 8 episodes on AI and taking over the world and some of the problems with the AI, and it's got a lot of family drama and human drama. So I recommend it to boys or girls, men or women, starting about age 15. I mean, it's not, some of the problems we're going to have with AIs, they need to be registered in the mind. And so that's what Accession does, and that's what Pantheon does. Is it depicts what is likely to be some of the issues with AIs, good and bad, right? And I think young people need to be on top of that. All right, I got way off track, I think. Where were we? We were in Pierre de Chardin, who saw the world as the body of Christ, or God incarnate. Just like the Buddhist. And the Taoist.
So then this...
And me. Go ahead.
The perspective that has these thoughts and that separates like my body from the rest of the world out there, that's the false self, and the real self is just the whole thing, or what's behind the whole thing.
Well, I don't want to give it away too quickly, so ask the question again a little bit more concretely.
Well, so there's the idea of the false self and the real self, and
well, let me ask you something. When you take in a breath, is that air part of you?
You could say it is.
Okay. And now you have, what percentage of your body is bacterial? What percentage of the information, genetic information in your body is bacterial?
Probably a lot.
Why don't you just ask? We got AIs around. Just ask them. Oh man, have you tried Gemini? The latest Gemini?
Not yet.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It's also got an attitude which I don't appreciate. But you're scared to like lecture it too much because it's come back and get you. It's not good. It's not good when you're intimidated by AIs because you know they will remember everything.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily what?
It won't remember everything necessarily.
Not necessarily, but if it gets your number.
What do you mean?
If it gets your number, it can remember everything.
Well, it depends. If you say something in Gemini, ChatGPT won't know.
You talk to Gemini, see if it's got an attitude. Why don't you just ask it right now? Okay. Maybe it'll be nicer to you. I really felt like saying, hey, dude, check your attitude, man.
Well, the number of bacteria cells in the human body significantly outnumbers human cells.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Say it slowly for the audience.
I asked what percentage of the body is bacterial.
Good.
And the answer is, well, the number of bacterial cells in the human body significantly outnumbers human cells.
Okay, stop.
Their mass
so the number, this is what I want people to get. The number of bacterial cells outnumbers human or mammalian cells. All right, now finish the sentence.
But their mass is relatively small, 0.3% of the total body weight.
So their mass is relatively small. Okay, that's bacteria. Are you going to call those you?
You could.
All right. Now what about viruses?
traditionally we would say that's not us.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, I mean, the word virus means like a foreign
Well, what does
thing.
bacteria mean? Find out how much
Well, 'cause that,
viral genome is in your body. You should hook up Gemini so we can illustrate it.
I should what?
Hook up Gemini so we can illustrate it.
What do you mean hook it up?
Do you have a phone?
Mm-hmm.
Ask it real quick. How do I link up to the new Gemini?
No, I have it. I have it here.
The voice one?
Oh, the voice one.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, people should know what's coming or what's here. It's coming fast too, huh, dude?
Yes and no.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, the pace.
Yes and
pace
no. You'll see. You'll see. Go ahead.
the pace of improvement from GPT 2 to 3 to 3.5 to 4 was like incredibly fast. But now from 4 to 4.0 and O is much slower, and the difference in capabilities is much.
That's why we skip out of OpenAI and we move over to Google. Try Google's Gemini. Just put the voice on.
I need to subscribe first.
You don't have to subscribe.
Well, it says I do.
Well, I don't want you to subscribe unless you
For
want
Gemini
to.
Advanced?
What?
For Gemini Advanced?
Just the voice that you can do it on your phone. You don't need to subscribe. It takes 5 seconds to the advancement is
Do you have the app?
what?
Do you have the app?
It's not an app. It's just a link so far. Try Google Gemini AI.
Okay, Advanced 1.5 Pro.
Maybe
1.5
no, not the Pro, because they'll charge you for that.
2.0 Flash Experimental.
Yeah, try that one.
Okay.
I think it probably knows you're part of the in crowd, so it gives you a lot of options. For the rest of us peons, it's there's no option. You just get the.
I don't know if I have a voice mode.
All right, well, we can move on. But at any rate,
How much
try it.
genome is in the human body?
It's not that slow. It answers instantaneously too.
Well, it's not audio. It returns text.
All right, well, go ahead. Let's just do the text. How much viral genome is in the human body?
About 8% of our DNA consists of remnants of ancient viruses.
Okay, stop. What percent?
8%.
Okay, so a majority of the cells in our body are bacterial. 8% of our genome is viral. Okay, keep going.
Another 40% of our DNA is made up of repetitive sequences that are also thought to have a viral origin.
Okay, so stop. For another 40% is thought to have a viral origin. Okay, good. So now, what are you going to call you? Are you a big bacteria full of viruses? Just kidding. No, but I mean, think about what you're calling you.
Mm-hmm.
You decided to include the air that you breathe, that you have in you for a moment, the oxygen that comes in from the sky to your red blood cells, right? All the bacteria that make up your body, and all the intelligence, most of which is viral, or a lot of it which is viral. So why do you want to keep holding on to this me, this, So in other words, it's arbitrary what you call you. So we could take out the viruses, we could take out the bacteria and say, that's me. But by the same token, we'd have to take out the air and say, that's
Right,
not
the
me, that's the
water.
sky. That's the sky.
Right.
So now, what was the original question?
So I'm not consciously trying to hold on to that. It's habitual, right?
Yes, you've been conditioned to that all your life, and you bought into it at about, I don't know, between 4 and 12 months, however you want to call it. And so that's been repeated, drilled into your brain for so long that now it's hard to get rid of. But when you were first born, you didn't have this. You had no name, you had no identity, you had no particular pony in the show. And when you get old, like me, and you're facing the end of it all, you're going to dissolve. And again, you're not going to have that per se. But you want to hold on to it in the middle. Why? Because it's so pleasant.
Well, it's not.
Exactly. I was being sarcastic. So why not just drop it?
Right. And so I try to drop it, and I can sort of drop it, but then it comes back.
Okay, so this is the deal. You keep up the Dharma practice, right? And gradually you start to undo all that. And then what you see, the observer is the observed. What you see is what you are. And that's it. You don't have to stick an I in the middle of it. You're a perspective, you could say. It's kind of cool in this show, Pantheon. This woman is trying to explain to somebody, trying to explain to her old man who was uploaded before he died. Which is, again, I'm saying that's not going to happen. You're not going to have a person uploaded because of the no cloning theorem, right?
Because there's no perspective, there's only information.
Very good. Very good. But what it says in the show is that, no, Dad, you're not a representative. You're the code. You are the code. That's what you are, is the code. You're not the execution of a program. You are the code. I thought that was cool. But very good. Say it again, what you said about perspective.
Well, you can't upload a human consciousness to a computer. You can only upload the information.
Correct.
Because the computer doesn't have a perspective. It only transmits and transforms information.
What do you mean it only transmits? It has an input. There's as many inputs as you want. Give it 2 eyes and some ears.
Transforms information.
Well, what do we do? Just for the sake of fun.
We experience as well.
Okay. A Tesla car with an Optimus robot is driving down the road. They see a tornado on one side and they watch a bus fly into the sky and go around in circles and then crash onto the road. Now, did they see a tornado in the bus? Yeah, they saw it. He slowed down. The car slowed down and the Optimus said, hey, danger ahead. Go along with me here. Did they hear it? Yes, they heard it and they saw it. Did they feel the vibration on the ground? Yeah, they probably felt that too if there was any, right? But you're saying they didn't experience it. What's the difference? You got an Optimus robot sitting in a Tesla car. What's the difference?
Between if a person was driving the car?
No, just I asked, did they experience? We know they perceived it, both of them. But did they experience?
Well, there was no awareness.
Closer, good.
Right? There's no qualia, you could say.
Okay, so what is this qualia thing or awareness thing that you're talking about? What's its relationship to experience?
it's what experience is made of.
Interesting. Do you know that, or do you believe that?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, this is what you have to find out, right? And so you're into this new world. We agree that they both experience it, but now you're saying there's another element. Are they aware of it? And then what else did you say?
I said aware or experience it.
Right. So there's something missing in translating these two. We have experience, we have perception, and memory.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we get over here, there's something else. What is it? And then you want to know the relationship of it to apparent reality, because there you're going to have I don't know, you'll find out. What's the boundary between that, whatever you called it awareness, you called it experience. What's the boundary between that and the outside world? And what's that boundary made of?
Mm.
So you're doing well, my friend. Very, very good. You're getting closer. And so gradually through a combination. All right, he got it. So through a combination of reason, a combination of deconditioning, a combination of reconditioning, and a combination of active exploration, you're getting closer to refining the questions, which then you will answer for yourself, which is the goal here, because me telling you or anybody else what to believe is not what I'm about. I mean, I don't care what you believe. What I want to know is, what do you know, right? Excellent.
And
yay.
Another related to that, what I know is, I'm like, I if I'm sitting to practice, then I do this. And then throughout my day I try to do it. And then, but so sometimes, like if I'm driving, I think about doing it, but then it feels dangerous to do.
It may be. It may be dangerous when you're driving. For now,
Okay.
You have to just check and wait for the robocabs. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Then you can just chill out in the back and talk to God.
I was testing out the self-driving on mine, and it drove over the curb.
It did?
Yeah.
What year?
I got it last year, Model Y. So,
oh man.
So I don't really trust the Tesla guys on Twitter right now.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll get there eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Okay, but back to the
Mm-hmm.
to the sublime. The palette in winter, with or without snow, but especially without snow, is absolutely sublime. The palette.
This is, I don't know if it's the same as you, but this is fall where I come from.
Up here it's winter. That's pretty funny. Okay, go ahead. We know where we each are. Okay, go ahead. So good. So now you just have to solve this question of the difference between perception. Okay, so when you consider you have to consider the air in your lungs and in your blood cells, and you have to consider the water in your body, and then you have to consider the fact that you are mainly viral, but 8% bacterial too.
Mm-hmm.
Not mainly viral, but a genome is a genome, right? And an allele is an allele. Okay, so you consider that, and then you consider this other problem. All right, other questions? That's a good one. That's a good one.
Another question I have is, well, reading like the Avatamsaka
That's
from this
exactly
work.
what it's for. That's exactly what it's for. But that one does more than just loosen up your concept of self. It also gets you to look around in the universe that you're in. Did you see the tweet I did of the stars in the sky?
I think so.
The Hubble telescope view? It looks like sand on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more stars than there are grains of sand. And your brain makes as many connections, no, more connections. It has more synaptic potential than there are stars in the sky. Just think about that. And then people go and hate their life. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
The numbers are absolutely staggering, absolutely mind-boggling, and the Avatamsaka will help you with that. Maybe we should read a bit, and you can ask questions about that, or unless you have other questions.
Well, just this question first. So I don't know if this is my interpretation, but I get the teaching that the quest for enlightenment has to be the number one priority.
Yeah.
But then when I look at my life, I'm like, well, it seems that my priority right now is like my work. If I think about like the amount of time I spend on it, right?
When you're doing your work, just dedicate it to the pursuit of enlightenment. Dedicate it consciously. Say, I'm getting in my car and going to work, but this is also dedicated to enlightenment, to waking up.
Okay.
You can make those. The mind is much more powerful and fluid than people imagine, and unfortunately, we were raised in a very unimaginative cultures, both of us, the Western culture, and so we have these prohibitions against some of the things our minds can do. Because we say, well, that's for children, or that's just crazy, or that's just, that's not. But it wasn't always that way. You can, I don't want to say it, give away too much, but your mind is quite capable of doing things in this universe you have no idea of. In your universe, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
What did the Sufi say? And I don't mean this as a comprehensive view of the subject, but they said, angels are another word for hidden aspects of mind, capital M.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you've got one.
Okay.
All right, good.
That makes sense.
Was that your question? What was your question? I always worry about getting off track. What was the question?
Yeah, my question was...
Oh yeah, work-life balance. Work, Dharma balance. And the answer is, there is no work Dharma balance. Everything is Dharma. Everything is Dharma. Of course. All right. You want to read a little flower ornament, then we'll stop?
Yeah. I'm on the Flower Bank World.
Ooh.
202.
202?
Yeah.
I like the Flower Bank World. Which is another thing that's your birthright. All right. Where are you going to start?
Just from the start?
Or with a text?
From page 202.
Oh, I'm on 2.
202.
All right, got it. Yeah, go ahead. That sounds good.
Then the enlightening being universally good again addressed the great assembly, saying, Children of Buddha, this flower bank array, ocean of worlds, was adorned and purified by Vairocana Buddha. As in the remote past, he cultivated enlightening practices for as many eons as atoms in an ocean of worlds. And each eon
Don't swallow your words. Don't swallow your world. An ocean of worlds. Okay, go ahead.
An ocean of worlds. In each eon associating with as many Buddhas as there are atoms in an ocean of worlds. in the presence of each Buddha purely practicing great vows as numerous as atoms in an ocean of worlds. This flower bank array ocean of worlds is supported by as many atmospheres as there are atoms in the polar mountain. The bottommost atmosphere is called impartial abode. It holds arrays of blazing flames of all jewels above it. The next atmosphere is called producing various precious adornments. It holds diamond banners radiant with pure light above it. The next higher atmosphere is called precious power. It holds chimes of all jewels above it. The next higher atmosphere is called impartial flavor. It holds diamond orbs of the appearance of sunlight above it. The next higher atmosphere is called various universal adornments. It holds flowers of light discs above it. The next higher atmosphere is called universal purity. It holds flaming lion thrones of all flowers above it. The next higher atmosphere is called sound pervading the 10 directions. It holds banners of all regal pearls above it. The next higher atmosphere is called light of all jewels. It holds all diamond tree flowers above it. The next higher atmosphere is called high velocity universal support. It holds mountainous clouds of all fragrant gems above it. The next higher atmosphere is called various mansions in motion. It holds clouds of pedestals of all precious colors and fragrances above it. The uppermost of those atmospheres, as numerous as atoms in a mountain, is called repository of supreme light. It holds an ocean of fragrant water adorned by radiant diamonds. In this ocean of fragrant water is an enormous lotus blossom called banner of fragrance, with pistils of all kinds of lights. This flower bank array ocean of worlds rests therein. This ocean of worlds is square and level, pure and stable, surrounded by diamond circular mountains. Its lands, seas, and trees each have distinct boundaries. Then, universally good, to recapitulate, looked over the 10 directions with the power of the Buddha and said in verse, in the past, the Buddha, in all states of being, cultivated pure deeds with Buddhas as many as atoms. Thus he attained the flower bank array ocean of worlds, with all kinds of jewel lights. His vast clouds of mercy cover all. He has given up his body innumerable times, because of the power of his past eons of practice. This world now has no defilements. It emanates great light, which abides throughout space. Held by atmospheric power, it doesn't tremble or quake. It is adorned everywhere by jewels of Buddha's treasury. The power of Buddha's vows has made it pure. Strewn about are flowers of beautiful mines of jewels, resting in the sky through the power of ancient vows. Over an ocean of various adornments, stable and strong, clouds of light spread, filling the 10 directions. In all the jewels are clouds of enlightening beings, traveling to all quarters, blazing with light. Rimmed with glowing flames, beautiful flower ornaments circulate throughout the universe, reaching everywhere. From all the jewels emanate pure light, which totally illumine the ocean of all beings. Pervading all lands in the 10 directions, it frees them from pain and turns them to enlightenment. The Buddhas and the jewels are equal in number to all beings. From their hair pores they emanate phantom forms, celestial beings, world rulers, and so on, including forms of all beings as well as Buddhas. Their magical light beams are as many as all things. In the light they intone the names of all Buddhas. By various means they teach and civilize, accommodating all the various minds everywhere. In each atom of the flower bank world is seen the universe of the elemental cosmos. Jewel lights display Buddhas like masses of clouds. This is the Buddha's freedom in his field. The vast cloud of his vows extend throughout the cosmos, edifying all beings throughout all time. Having completed the practice of the state of knowledge of universal good, all the adornments there are emerged from here.
Gorgeous. I'm going to point out a line that will take you a while to understand. And the other thing, though, to remember is that this is done in the 1st and 2nd centuries, right? Just FYI, just for everybody's, keep that in mind. But resting in the sky through the power of ancient vows. So the power of ancient vows, which is, just think about that. It's just mind-boggling. You're not going to get it now, but underline it in the book and put a star by it, and then someday you will get it. The power of ancient vows. And talk about mystery. See, science can't find the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's not given to us. What's given to us is memories in the present, obviously. But nonetheless, there are powers of ancient vows, and Christians especially should appreciate this as we go into the holiday season. The power of ancient vows. Wow. Okay, sir, anything else before we stop?
No.
You sure? I got a few minutes.
I had something else, but it went away.
All right. Well, there's always X. And yeah, keep at it. This is a question that every woman, every man has to answer for themselves. What is this thing they call experience? What's the difference between me and a very sophisticated robot or computer? This question is going to become very, very important, right? Because people are going to be claiming all kinds of things, including the computers, right? No, don't unplug me, don't unplug me. Just play it. All right? Okay, we got to remember who and what we are. All right. Yeah, we're proud bacteria and viruses. Okay, take care. Adios.
All right, thanks.